Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. This is like our fifth last program of 2024. As you may know, everything we do goes to our YouTube channel, but it has been like a wild ride, over 450 programs this year alone. I know for many of you classes joining today live and on YouTube, it's your last show with us of the entire year, so a big thank you to all of you for joining us as we get to showcase and celebrate just the coolest scientists and explorers on planet Earth all the time. Now, I'm really excited today because we are bringing back an all-star from last season. Shaun Wolfe joined us, and he is a photographer and videographer who has worked with everybody. If you've heard of a cool place sharing amazing nature, Apple TV, Netflix, BBC, National Geographic, and more, Shaun has worked with them to capture some of the most amazing footage on planet Earth and to bring it to kids like you and communities all across the globe. So we had a lot of fun with him last year. He's back this year. He is on 4 straight overnight shooting day. So he is like really, this is like an amazing opportunity to catch him when he should be sleeping live in Hawaii. And I've got to say, we've done maybe 15 programs live in Hawaii in our entire history. And every time we're there, if you listen closely in the background, you'll hear just the most beautiful birds and insects and calls of all kinds. It always makes me want to like hop on a plane and go immediately. So you're in for a real treat. I'm so excited for you all. Miss Saunders' class, Miss Paget's class, our YouTube audience. So nice to have you all in. And without further ado, Shaun, welcome back to the broadcast, man. So nice to see you again.
Hey, Jesse. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are living the perfect, like you got this Hawaiian perfect backdrop. We've got the surfboard, the lights pouring in the window. We all just want to be there. I'm very excited, but I know you've got a lot of other places to share with us in this beautiful presentation. So feel free to take us away.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jesse. And thanks for the intro. And that footage is not mine, but it looks great. Thank you everyone for being here. And I want to give a special shout out to the students that are here from LA, which is where I grew up. And this is actually a photo of me working off the coast of Catalina Island, where I lived for 10 years on and off. So kids from LA, maybe you've been out there, maybe you haven't, maybe you've seen it from the shoreline, but it's right off the coast and it's an incredible place. All right. So who am I? It's nice to meet everyone virtually. Some call me a dashing young prince. Some have said I'm a legend in my own mind, but no, I'm just a cinematographer and photographer. And I'm excited to show you a little bit about what I do. My name's Shaun Wolfe. I grew up in LA. Like I said, I've lived in California most of my life, from Catalina to Santa Barbara. And now I've been out in Hawaii for 3 years now. I do a lot of different kinds of work. I'm here mostly to talk about my work in wildlife, but I work in a lot of other genres of film and television as well, including documentary. This was, I was filming a day on the North Shore here on Oahu of one of the most prestigious big wave surf competitions in the world. My camera is not in underwater housing in this photo, but it almost went underwater 3 or 4 times due to huge waves sweeping us almost off the beach. Here I am on the Channel Islands in California, filming for our universe. You can see I'm in a dry suit here because it's very cold, and I'm holding essentially an underwater scooter. So I hold on to that thing, put a camera on top of it, press a button, and it swims for me very smoothly, which is great. This is shooting for a science documentary where I'm rigging up what's called a Dana dolly for a smooth moving shot. Filming for I do commercial work too, and branded content work, and then music videos and a lot, and less music videos, but a lot of scripted stuff too, which I was trying to pull some behind the scenes stuff for. I have some later in the presentation, but you'll see it there. As Jesse said, I work for a lot of the big streaming services and some of the other kind of editorial outlets. Stuff that channels that you have tuned into, my work is there. I make images. I make images to tell stories. So those can be moving pictures, like, video, as some would say, or still photography too. My whole goal is to use my creativity to make a difference in the world and to help the environment and people alike. I basically just, I want to make things that I'm proud of and make a difference on issues that I care about. And I use film and photography to do this because it's the most fun way to do it for me, but also I think it's the way that I can best utilize my own skill set to make a difference. And I got into this world by watching a documentary that really inspired me. And I watched that in a marine science class with a very inspiring professor that made me want to do this in the first place. And so film is what brought me in, and film is what keeps me here. Yeah, films had a huge impact on my life, and especially specific films. And I hope to give others that same gift. So I'm going to run you kind of through my journey and timeline. This was in 2019 in Yosemite National Park. It was very cold. I don't come from a cold place, so standing in the snow and in sub-freezing temperatures for 5 hours to get this photo is asking a lot from me. Oh, you know what? I did not load one of these videos for you guys.
You rebel.
Yeah, sorry. We're working.
That's okay. I like that we even heard that you spend 5 hours out in the cold. So this is something that I love that you harped on last time, and I'm sure we're going to get to over the course of today's broadcast. But the idea that like a shot is not like, oh, go out, take a picture, walk away. Like it's many hours or days or weeks of work to capture these images, which is very
totally
cool.
Or months. Speaking of which, so this is a little video work of mine that you guys be able to see without an issue. And I'm going to mute it so that I don't hear the sound, because you can't. So this is some of my underwater work. And speaking of, taking a long time, it was really important for me to open this film with like nice kelp forest shots, like good conditions. And if any of you guys live near a kelp forest, you know that the water is generally not super clear. So to accomplish like these shots, we actually waited about 6 months for those conditions to present themselves. So yeah, I was on call basically every day for 6 months until we got nice conditions. Anyway, now that you've seen a little bit about a little snippet of my work, I'll tell you kind of how I started. This photo I took well before I really started taking photography and film seriously, which, I can very clearly see now, but at the time I was very proud of this photo. And it all started just because I love to travel. I love new places and cultures and landscapes and food and meeting people and just everything that comes with traveling. And so when I would go travel, I would take personal photos while I was traveling because I wanted to show people back home my experience. And I spent most of my late teens through mid 20s just saving up enough money to go travel to the next place. Photography at the time was not my focus at all. I put no time into it. I wasn't making money doing it. It was just a hobby and a way for me to share these trips with people back home. This photo was kind of when this is around the time I started taking it a little more seriously. I saw these guys in Cairo, in Egypt, delivering bread every day like this. And the traffic in Cairo is intense and super chaotic. And I was so impressed that they were able to bike through traffic, balancing these huge like crates of bread on their heads. And some of these guys had double-decker crates. This is just a single decker, but and they never spilled bread. And this guy was dodging traffic. And so when I saw it, I think I stood on the street corner for like 3 days to have an opportunity to get a shot of them. And finally got this one. So eventually I went to graduate school for marine science and science communication and media, which is kind of where I really started transitioning into film and photography. And between my first year and my second year of graduate school, I got this internship that with our World Underwater Scholarship Society, where I basically got to go all over the world to places I could never afford to go with camera gear I could never afford to buy. And I got to document both pristine and damaged marine environments and the science that was being done in both places. After this internship, I kind of transitioned fully from scientist to filmmaker and photographer. I made a bunch of films my second year in grad school. I got fellowships, I got internships. I started putting all of my time and energy into film and photography. I slowly started getting some opportunities like this one in Costa Rica. I was there for 3 weeks working with my friends, marine conservation. It's like culturally immersive marine conservation program for undergraduates. So they send students to Costa Rica, they live with local families, and they work on turtle conservation. But they also have some kind of local cultural opportunities like this one, where they learn from some locals how to milk a cow and a bunch of other things. But yeah, no milk was wasted in the taking of this photo. After graduate school, I started working as a cinematographer and photographer full time. It's a very alternative lifestyle with extremely long and unpredictable hours, as well as finances. And it's taken me all over the world. In the end, I don't really think I could be doing anything else. And this is really the best way I feel like I can have an impact on the issues that I care about. So yeah, like I said, I do a wide variety of work. Most of these are kind of science conservation and wildlife programs, but I really work kind of in the science, conservation, socioeconomic issue world. I really try to focus on things that have an impact, even if those are scripted films. Okay, we're on to some things that everyone actually wants to see, which is the behind the scenes of the work that I get to do. So if you want to do the work that I like to do, you got to put yourself into some tight spaces. You can't hear the audio here, but I'm only slightly panicked, leaning over the sea cliff, trying to get this shot in Tasmania here. And let's go. There we go. That's the image that I ended up getting from putting myself in that position in 2019. You have to put some of your equipment at risk, but gaff tape solves many of life's problems. Sometimes you have to be willing to wade in thigh-deep water where alligators swim, bears and panthers exist, and mosquitoes are everywhere. This was in the Florida Everglades with what was called Path of the Panther, and I believe is now called Wild Path. They set up all these camera traps, which you can see. Let's see if you can see my mouse, but there's a camera trap here, 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 up here, and one up here. And they set up these camera traps to capture wild animals crossing different parts of the Florida Everglades, so they can show to politicians that, hey, these animals have a huge range and these places need to be protected. And each little part of the range needs to be connected so the animals can, like, they have the space they need, right? You also have to be willing to shoot in a variety of conditions. You'll see this photo on the left. My camera's on the top right of that photo, which you can barely see. Conditions were pretty poor here, obviously. I think we had maybe less than 5 feet of visibility, or like less than 1.5 meters for those who don't use the imperial system. And then on the right, those are obviously great conditions. So I have to work in both. You also have to be willing to haul a lot of equipment. This is all my equipment on long flights. And yeah, now I'm going to show you guys some more behind the scenes stuff, only the most serious stuff. So that scooter that I showed you earlier, doing some donuts with it between dives on the Channel Islands. I think if you're not having fun on location, you're doing something wrong. So I try to keep it light when I don't have to be serious. But yeah, we use that scooter to get really smooth shots of kelp forest and things like that. That was for Our Universe for Netflix. This is a different program for Netflix called Our Living World. I spent most of 2021 and 2022 working on this project. The longest shoot I did for this took place in Alabama. I was there for about a month. I worked with a team to develop the rig that you see in this photo, where we're getting kind of shots that are half in the water, half out. But it was actually a challenge even getting this thing in the water, not just because it's a little bit cumbersome and awkward, but we had 21 days to get out on the boat, and we only got on the boat for a day and a half because of poor weather conditions. Things often don't go according to plan, and you have to make do. Part of making do was and you'll see me here I'm trying to film rain out of the back of a van. I'm setting up the camera. You can see rain. You can see, I'll play it again. You can see rain right about, well, I don't know if it'll work, but you can see rain pouring through the car right here. And I go to check the lens and it's covered in water. So it was actually really hard to film rain and those downpours. Here we are in the back of the minivan. This is my friend Sarah, who is the director, and you can see on the photo on the right of water on the lens. It was very hard to, even though I'm filming way back in the van between the wind and the rain, it was just super hard to keep the lens dry. Then they asked us to film some wind, which is really hard to do on a long lens, actually, especially with a tripod that's not super heavy duty like the one you see here. So I stole a couch cushion from the Airbnb, which I returned to block the wind from hitting my camera, which works. But yeah, like I said, things don't go according to plan and you need to make do. Then they asked us to film heat. This is all because we couldn't get on the boat. So we did all these stories because we couldn't get on the boat. So they asked us to film some heat. But with the wind, the heat, it was very hot, but it wasn't showing up on camera. So to create like a hot sort of look, I also stole a baking sheet from the Airbnb, which I also returned. I spray painted it black. I put a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it. Or I left it first on the dashboard of the car to heat up. Then I put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in it, and then I put it underneath the camera here, and we get like that kind of, what, if you've been on a really hot day when you look out at a road and you see like kind of like this
steam.
Yes, it's not steam, right? It's like heat haze coming off the road, but like that's the look that we were trying to accomplish here, and it worked. Nothing but the most professional tools in play here, like a baking sheet and a couple rolls of paper towels. Eventually we were able to get in the water, which was awesome. This is a photo of me in the water filming. You'll see a lot of the photos of me working are not great, and that's because I'm the one with the fancy camera. So sorry for the poor quality photos, but I'm just happy that I have some photos of me working. The visibility in Alabama, I don't know if we have any classes from the Gulf joining us today, but the visibility in the Gulf of Mexico, where the Alabama coast is, the visibility in the water is bad. So if you put your hand in the water down to your wrist, you really can't even see your fingertips. The water is dark and murky. So we have to go like 80 miles offshore. So that's over 100 kilometers out to film jellyfish in the water. So we're in the middle of the ocean. We're in water that is thousands of feet, or really probably even thousands of meters deep. Finding them is also hard. Like, you don't just get out there and the jellies just are there. So, we only had a day and a half, and it took us most of that time just to even find them. Once we did, though, it was pretty glorious. And a few sharks came to say hi as well. I know that, everyone's always asking about sharks. So yes, we did have a few sharks cruise us while we were working, and I can show you guys. I wasn't able to do this last time, so this is really cool. I can show you guys some of the footage that we got from there.
It's already so beautiful.
Yeah, so this is one of the oil rigs that we were working near. I'm actually going to skip through this part because not all of it, but this is all stuff that we didn't film on that segment. Okay, so the whole idea is, this is how, I'm also going to mute this for myself. This is how jellies spawn, or like are born. So you can see the baby jellies now floating in the water column. There's one right there. And yeah, there's one starting to swim around a little bit. So cute, so small. Although the whole part of the story is that the jellyfish are actually like kind of the bad guys. So the music that you are not hearing is very intense and dark. Okay, so here's one of my shots coming in. These jellies, these are jellies that we saw in Alabama. Very angelic and beautiful. They really are kind of mesmerizing. Yeah, and again, like we're just in deep blue water here. Like it's super deep, and you're not seeing the bottom. Yeah, that's a good
Beauty. I
little
also
peek.
love that they pop off a stalk. It's one of my very favorite things in all of nature. The jellyfish are on like a whole like line of jellyfish, and they pop off one by one and then go about their merry way. They're fantastic.
Yeah, totally. Cool. All right, so then I also spent a few weeks for the same program filming in a burned out forest in California, which you can see here. This shoot provided a lot of the challenges of being a wildlife cinematographer. We're working honestly like 18 to 19 hours a day, waking up at 3 a.m. to haul like over 70 pounds of camera equipment up extremely steep terrain that there's no path that we're following. There's no like trail. We're just, I mean, it doesn't look that steep in the photo on the left, but that's not where we spent most of our time filming. It was pretty steep, and we're in a burned out forest. So we're breathing in ash. We're getting bit by mosquitoes. And we settle into what's called a blind. So it's like a camouflage tent, which you can see my camera in on the photo on the right. And once we're in that blind, we're there for hours, most of the day. The reason why we go in these camouflage tents is because it makes the birds more comfortable with us. You know, once we arrive, the birds, we were filming woodpeckers, and once we arrive, you know, they start hammering, you know, pecking into trees really, really fast. And they're not doing that to create a new hole in the tree for the heck of it. They're doing that because they're letting us know this is our territory. We don't want you here. We're not happy with you here. And if they're doing that sort of behavior, we can't capture them doing the behavior that we want to film. So to prevent this, we hang out in these camouflage tents. This was probably the most physically challenging shoot I've ever done. I was totally exhausted by the end of it. We did get some good stuff, which I'm pleased to say I can play for you, which I also wasn't able to do last time. So this is a little bit from that shoot. This is actually a sunrise from Alabama, but yeah, this is the little sequence we shot of these guys. We shot a lot more, but this is all that they used for the final product. And this was a story about fire and how that impacts animals for better or worse. So you see like fire clips in there too. Okay, here I am.
Great. Cool. I'm sure we're going to get into this in the Q&A as well, but a lot of these situations sound like they have some danger element to them. So kids, you can put your thinking caps on for what kind of questions you're going to ask Shaun in a few minutes, but certainly fire, sharks, jellyfish, and more. Some of these are more dangerous than others, as we'll explore, I'm sure, but it's just fascinating to highlight.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and the fire stuff I actually didn't shoot. My friend Sashua shot that stuff, and he works with his local fire department as kind of like a I guess like a volunteer firefighter, but he lives in a rural area in Northern California where fire is a threat. So he has worked with them to learn how to fireproof his own property. So he does a lot of controlled burns and stuff. So yeah, he's pretty tuned in to fire and the dangers that come with it. But yeah, it's super dangerous for sure. On the opposite side of the spectrum, from those shoots for the same program, I spent a couple weeks filming a series of time lapses of flowers blooming. And this meant that I stared at flowers for 3 weeks, learning when they bloom, what they look like when they bloom, and what they look like just before they bloom, and how long it takes for them to bloom. So I could program my time lapse correctly. So I shot this series of time lapses, and I'm sorry for the mess here, but I shot this series of time lapses in my old bedroom. That's what my setup looked like. And I'm in the middle of a time lapse there. So I got a video light, and my camera's on a sliding track. So there's motion to this time lapse. Yep. And there's the flower. Built that little set myself. So I did that for a few weeks. for that program too, which was really cool. It was all native Hawaiian flowers, which is awesome. Last time I was able to play this, I'm sorry that I can't. Every time I try to play Apple TV while sharing my screen, it goes black. Same when I tried to screen record, so I'm really sorry. This is an incredible sequence that I'm really proud of. This was kind of my first big wildlife show that I worked on. It's called Tiny World. I spent a month watching what you see on this photo of the screen here. This is a piece of coral, which are kind of these like stocky things. I hope you can see my mouse as I point this out. And then these globe-shaped things are dwarf cuttlefish eggs. And actually, right here you can see a baby dwarf cuttlefish through the egg, and there's another one here. So we were filming these guys hatch. And because we didn't know when they were going to hatch, this meant we were watching the camera 24/7. So we had pre-record turned on, which you see on the top right, which means, when we hit we don't know when they're going to hatch. So when we hit the record button, pre-record means that everything 30 seconds before we hit the button is recorded. And that's because we don't know when they're going to hatch. So they hatch, we go, oh shoot, they hatched. We hit record. Okay, now we captured the hatch before we hit record too, thanks to this pre-record function. But yeah, this was challenging. We filmed this in an aquarium because we can't be underwater 24/7. And yeah, it was just two of us. So a lot of late nights, early mornings. I mean, we're literally there 24/7. And when we shot this in shifts, and when we needed to go to the bathroom, you press record and you run, and then you run back, stop recording, start pre-recording again, because we really couldn't afford to miss it. I was only supposed to be there for 3 days, but filming this hatch turned out to be super challenging, so I was there for a month. This is a different kind of, very, very, very different kind of job that I do. Wildlife crews are usually really small, maybe like 2 to 5 people. And this is a scripted project that I did, and this is only a portion of our crew, maybe half or so of our crew. So scripted projects, the crew is way bigger. There's a lot of very specific departments. This is a feature film that I worked on called Molokai Bound that's playing around the world in film festivals right now. This is a really cool clip. I'll play it and then I'll talk about it. It's probably not super clear as to like what's going on in this clip. But what's happening here, so on this film, I did all the lighting. And what's happening here is we are filming a driving scene, actually. Let's see if I can get that to play again. So this truck is the guys in the car who are driving. Let's see if I can pause this. Oh. Okay, so these lights here, these 2 bright lights in the back, those are supposed to be headlights of a car behind the car we're filming. And then this orange light that you see rotating up top, that's a street light passing overhead as they are driving by. And then this last light up here that's going to go red, that's a brake light of the car in front of them. So this is a lighting trick called poor man's process. You use it to make a car that's not moving look like it's moving. And it makes it a lot easier to film these driving scenes because we can get a lot more angles when we don't actually have to be in the car. And yeah, speaking of things not going to plan, we filmed this in a warehouse that was supposed to be completely black. And of course we get there and it's not. There's a rolling door that won't that won't close. So we had to run to the hardware store and get a bunch of black plastic. And we spent the first hour in the warehouse blacking it out. So, and again, wind is kind of a theme of my life. Wind is in some ways lovely and in many ways the bane of my existence. Here we have on the same shoot, you can see my face. I look very happy. This is me and the art director or production designer, Moana Hom, holding on to what we call a 4x4 floppy. We're using this piece of equipment to block the camera on a tripod from the wind because the wind was blowing over 60 miles an hour or over 100 kilometers per hour, and it was literally shaking on the tripod. So that's the trick we used. Okay, Earth Sounds. Again, it's on Apple TV. I can't show it to you guys. Oh, actually, I can show you a bad quality version of it. Hold on.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I'll just say after that, Shaun, I know we might have a lot more to share, but we can always go to Q&A first. And if there are more things that you want to share after this bit, you can always highlight them as we do our question period, if that works for you.
Yeah, totally. When do you want me to go to Q&A?
Fairly soon. We're at the 31-minute mark. We want to make sure we have a nice long time for Q&A. A few minutes, maybe.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, I have it here. Okay. Not there. Here. Okay, this is from Earth Sounds. This is some of the footage that we got. It's a kind of poor quality rendition, but you get the idea. This piece of equipment is super cool that I shot. Okay, we are back to presenting mode. Killer. Oh, I don't have a slide on it. But yeah, this is like what you saw in that clip is essentially a self-powered paddleboard that crosses the entire ocean, picking up sounds of whales and transmitting that data to scientists in Hawaii directly.
Cool.
The thing, that paddleboard moves very quickly, especially in current. It moves way faster than I can swim. So to film that sequence, we set it so that it would do a circle around me, but the circle is big and the current is pushing that circle away from me all the time. So its path was a little unpredictable, and I was literally sprinting, swimming underwater for 5 days to try to get the few shots that you see there. I'm going to, Jesse, I'm going to skip forward and just go to here. And then we'll hit the Q&A.
Fantastic.
But yeah, these are a few more shots of mine, but I just want to like kind of especially speak to any students in the audience that you know see my work and see what I do and think that it's cool, or like think they might want to do it someday. I want to speak to you guys directly right now. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. It's a super difficult road, but just don't get discouraged, you know. And great cameras, they make things a lot easier, but every camera that you have is good enough to start with, and even if that's your phone, you know. The internet is a place that didn't exist when I was growing up, which ages me, but it has a lot of free learning resources and people who can help you get some skills. Even on YouTube, there's so much good information for people starting out. Don't afraid to be, you know, to take some risks, and remember that every master was a beginner at some point. So yeah, just start making stuff.
I love that phrase. Every master was a beginner at some point. That's beautiful. Sorry, keep going. I just thought that was fantastic.
Well, that's really all. Yeah, and this is my information if you guys want to check out more stuff or stay in touch or whatever. But yeah, I'm happy to go to Q&A now too.
Oh, well, I'll make sure all our classes have the link to your website. It's right up on the screen now as well. And what a deep dive into some really, really cool stories you've had the chance to shoot. Lucky you. We're going to take questions from our North Bay crew first. Miss Paget's class, we're coming to you. YouTubers, keep them chiming in. And we'll take as many as we can over the next 10 minutes together. And we might even go long because we're rebels together. We can do whatever we want. So North Bay, Miss Saunders' class, come on in and kick us off. Hey, guys. Hi.
Hi. My name's Everly. What was the most scariest picture you took?
Ooh, good question.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever been like truly terrified. There was one instance in the Caribbean where I was just, it wasn't for work, but I was there with my camera, and there's an invasive fish in the Caribbean called lionfish. And so people spear it, which is a good thing. And usually they eat it, but sometimes dive instructors will spear them and then just leave them. Like they'll spear them and kill them, and then they'll just leave them in the water. And what that has meant is that a lot of the sharks in the area start to, like they connect humans with food because the humans are essentially feeding them. And so yeah, I had one experience there where I was with a dive instructor and a group of divers, and I kind of like broke away to get some photos. And some of these reef sharks, which they're pretty small sharks, but they started swimming around me in a pretty aggressive way that made me a little nervous. But that's when you're like, okay, it's time to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm back in Toronto, the squirrel capital of the world, and I go outside and like 6 of them will walk up within about 3 feet of me to be like, do you have any nuts? Do you have any food? And so I could just picture that with reef sharks, and it's a bit of a different experience. So
Yeah.
great question to lead us off.
Yeah.
Cherokee, Texas, Miss Paget's class. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. Unmute. Come ask me a question. Or not me, ask Shaun. Hey, you're good to go. You just got to flick on that microphone and then you're golden. And
okay, go ahead, Adeline.
Hi, my name is Adeline, and I was wondering, what's your favorite environment to take photos in?
Ooh, thanks, Adeline.
Hi, Adeline. Yeah, thanks for that question. That is an impossible question to answer because I am I'm so inspired by so many different landscapes. I'd say like landscape wise, this is very hard. But any sort of, I think maybe like kind of like foggy, misty, like fjords would be like really one of my favorites, where you have these like super tall mountains right on the ocean and these like really deep ocean kind of inlets with like waterfalls and snow-capped mountains and like kind of foggy bits on top. That's like pretty spectacular. In the underwater world, I think really hard question to answer. There's so many things that I love. I grew up in the kelp forest. I think so. I'm biased, but I think the kelp forest can be challenging. It's cold, visibility is not always good, but when you get it right, it's like one of the most spectacular places I've ever seen. So
I've got to say, what's funny about your answer to these is that kids, like, we have a lot of questions to speakers like Shaun about what your favorite place is, and everyone will tell you, oh, it's really hard, but almost everyone comes back to these places. All the divers in the world say the kelp forest. A lot of people like the mountain meets the ocean, like, basically California up through British Columbia and Alaska. It's a really special part of the world, the Northwest and certainly the west side of the North of America. So I'm really glad we got that query. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Sawyer, joining us in Newfoundland, wants to know, do you get any drone footage? Do you use them in your photography at all, or is it just handheld?
No, totally. Here, I can actually, I can show you something really quick.
Ooh.
I definitely get a lot of drone stuff. I have to use it for a lot of projects. Let's see. Okay, here's a little teaser that I can show.
Also something, by the way, you mentioned the internet. Also something that did not exist when we were kids is drones. Like the fact that you kids are growing up in an era where like, all the shots, every movie has a drone shot is just unreal to me, but it's all happened in the last 10 years and it's amazing.
Yeah, totally. Like all the, can you see my screen now? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're perfect. Yeah.
Like any shots like this would have had to be done on helicopter when I was a kid. And so this is actually a time lapse from a drone, a series of time lapses here. Of fog in the mountains of where I used to live in Santa Barbara. This is also a drone.
Cool.
And
that's what kind of drone do you have, by the way? Is there a specific kind of drone you have?
Yeah, I mean, I own a DJI Mavic Cine, but Mavic 3 Cine, but there's lots of different drones out there, and I don't always use that drone. Sometimes I use a nicer drone. Sometimes I use a not as nice drone. It just depends on the project and the budget.
Beauty, though. Thanks for those great clips.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to try and sneak in a couple more questions before our classes head off to lunch or the end of the day or what have you. But Miss Saunders' class, if you guys want to come on in, take us away. You're good to go.
Hi, my name is Hannah. What do you want to film? Photograph, but you haven't photographed.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh man.
Dream shot.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of photos. I think there's many more photos that I haven't taken that I would like than photos that I have taken. I don't know. I mean, there's like, I guess, yeah, if I could put myself in like a really incredible position, I don't know, maybe like a kelp forest, like a split shot underwater where you have like kelp forest below and like a like aurora or like northern lights above would be like pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I hope you get that. And if you do, please do contact me immediately and we'll have you back on the broadcast, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just came up with that one off the cuff. But like, yeah, that would be a really cool shot. Just one example of something.
I will say for our classes, certainly our North Bay class, you might have seen the most recent aurora. Texas, you guys are a little far south to see aurora, but like it's a really active solar cycle. So we're more people than ever are seeing the northern lights. And hopefully in Cherokee, you had the chance to see the eclipse that happened not too long ago. It's been a really amazing year for astronomical phenomena. So Shaun, fingers crossed, man, there's some good stuff in your future coming. I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up with one more for Miss Paget's class, and then what we'll do, as we always do, is bring in all our classes to say a big thank you and farewell. I just want to say, too, if you want to check out more of Shaun's amazing stuff, he's got a great website, lots to explore there, and it's just been so fun having you all for one of our last programs of the year. But Cherokee, take us away. Hey!
So we were in the zone of totality, actually. We were right in the middle for the solar eclipse. So we all got to see it.
Amazing. Me too. Cool.
Okay, Richard.
Why do you do this? Why do you do this job, boy?
Yeah, the
Why
classic.
did I do this job? Yeah. Well, thanks, Richard. Yeah. I mean, I do this job for a lot of reasons. You know, first of all, I really care about the environment. Like I spent my first part of my career as a marine scientist working in science and conservation. I was inspired to do that because of a film that I saw, and so that's kind of, you know, really why I do it. I want to get other people to care about these issues in the same way and take some action. And not just environmental issues, but a lot of other issues that I care about too. The other part of this answer is that it's fun. It's really fun and it's fulfilling. And also there's a lot of different ways to make a difference in the world, right? And one of those ways, I could have worked as a scientist for sure. But when I went to grad school for science, I realized that actually I'm not the most natural scientist in the world. I'm very good underwater. I'm very good working underwater in science. But I'm not really very good at like statistics and math and coding and those sorts of things that not only was I not as good at as my peers, but also I was less interested in. But I still wanted to make a difference. So this was a way for me I'm a creative person. This was a way for me, like my work is a way for me to be creative and also try to make a difference on these issues that I care about without having to code statistics in front of a computer all day.
What a beautiful answer, Shaun. And I just have to ask, because I thought you'd bring it up later. What was the film that you saw? What inspired you personally? Because you get the chance to make these things now to inspire kids, but what was your favorite? Yeah.
So I also, like, I haven't rewatched it since I saw it the first time. So it's been 14 years now.
Okay.
So it's an older film, but it's called Tapped, and it's about the bottled water industry from start to finish. So, as we say in science, cradle to grave. So it's about everything about the bottled water industry, from the bottles being made to the bottles being filled with water and where that water comes from, to people drinking that water, to then where the bottles end up after people are done with them. This was a different time in the world. This was, you know, I'm 34. I did not grow up learning about the Pacific Garbage Patch, for example. So this film was kind of the first time I had heard about that and a lot of other things. I didn't realize, we didn't grow up in school learning about, you know, the problem of plastic pollution or anything like that. So this was like super eye-opening for me. And it touches on so many different issues from ocean health to human health to air quality to chemicals in our own blood system and stuff. So it speaks to like kind of the holistic issue of bottled water, and that was
very cool,
pretty spectacular in a horrifying way for me as a 20-year-old to watch.
I've never seen it either, and I need to go check it out because it sounds fascinating. It would have been right up my alley at that time. So I'm 32, same sort of time frame. And this is the joy of work like Shaun's, because whether it's Our Living Planet or any of the other amazing features you talked about today, like you kids are seeing these on Netflix, Apple, Disney, whatever. And it's so amazing to have the chance to see footage that inspires you, excites you, gets you so keen. And as Shaun mentioned, you kids know these facts. You're so keen, passionate about marine plastics, climate change, and beyond. We grew up without that info. Like acid rain was the big issue that was talked about when I was a boy. And you probably haven't even heard of that. So this is something where there are big challenges facing the world, but there are more people than ever doing incredible work to showcase those issues and get people like you excited about solving them. So kudos to you as classrooms for your passion and enthusiasm today. And Shaun, it's so lovely having you back. Thank you more than you know for joining us. And is there any last message you want to share before we bring in the classes to say thank you and farewell?
Not really. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I appreciate everyone being here and being interested, and hopefully I grab your attention with something that I talked about today.
You got me, man, and I'm sure the kids too. Well, we'll bring in our kids and see how much you got their attention. So, Miss Saunders' class, Miss Paget's class, thank you both so much. Have a wonderful time. Shaun, and we are done live. Miss Paget.